Good evening and welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and top instructors go to share their stories, insights, and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by the French Lick Resort, Ben Hogan Golf, the PGA Tour Superstore, 2 Under, the Salt Creek Golf Retreat, TaylorMade Golf, the Bobby Jones Apparel Company, and Super Speed Golf. Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me tonight here on Next on the Tee. And boy, do we have a great show in store for you tonight. I've got 4 guests that I simply can't wait to share with you. My first guest is consistently ranked at the top of the list for best instructors in the state of Connecticut, and that is Paul Ramee. I'm going to talk to Paul about the fantastic golf trip he recently took over to Scotland, which looks like one of those once-in-a-lifetime kind of trips. We'll hear about the courses that he played, the sideways rain he and his friends had to deal with while they were over there. Plus, I'll get a couple of playing lessons from Paul as well. Looking forward to having him back on the show with me. He'll join me in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from one of the top golf course designers on the planet, and that's Bill Bergin. Bill's got a number of golf course projects going on right now, a couple not that far from me here in Atlanta. He's got the Macklemore course getting ready to open just outside of Chattanooga, which looks like a fantastic mountain course right up there on Lookout Mountain. We'll hear about that. Plus, he's doing some work in Dalton, Georgia as well, on a golf course up there, so want to get an update on that project. Also want to hear about the great things that he's been involved with. Jason Duffner is doing a lot of great work for kids, feeding kids up in the Auburn, Alabama area. Both Bill and Jason are Auburn alumni. So want to talk about the event that he got to be up there as well and hearing about the great things that Jason is doing. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when Bill joins me at the bottom of the hour. Following him, Golf Tip Magazine Top 25 instructor Tom Patri is going to be back with me. Tonight, TP and I will talk about the PGA Championship. I want to get his thoughts on Brooks Koepka, maybe the rivalry now developing between he and Tiger Woods. Also want to talk about Brooks and his good friend Dustin Johnson, right? Which one of them is the man now out on the tour, right? We got DJ's got a lot more PGA Tour victories, but Brooks has got those 4 majors. So which one of those guys is the man on the PGA Tour right now? We'll also talk about the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, which is, goodness knows TP and I have been hard on the USGA over the last couple of years. And folks, surely the USGA can't screw up a U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, right? We'll find out what TP thinks when he joins me about 45 minutes from now. And then we'll round out tonight's show with a return visit from Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company CEO Scott White. They recently launched a new line of drivers and fairway wood, which look absolutely fantastic. So looking forward to hearing all about those from Scott. He'll join me at the top of the next hour. So there you go, folks. We got a lot more great stories and information coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me tonight. Before I get started, I always like to remind you about my good friends Mitch and Matthew Lawrence, because they've got a couple of great golf shows available for you. Mitch's show is called Talking Golf Getaways, and on there they talk about some of the hidden gems, some of the great places you get to go stay, play, and even eat and drink while you're out there. And you can stream his podcast over on golftripx.com, and that's a letter X, so golftripx.com, and it's also available on Audio Boom, Stitcher, and Player.fm as well. He and his co-host Darren Bunch do a great job, so be sure to go check them out over on any one of those great sites. Plus, his twin brother Matthew also has a great golf show called Backspin Golf. You know how much I dig Matthew's show. It's my regular 8:03 a.m. tee time every Sunday morning. It is available from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on WLXG ESPN Radio AM 1300 up in Lexington, Kentucky. It's a great way to kick off your Sunday mornings. Their show is so much fun because Matthew is so much fun. Plus, he's also joined every week by Perry French of Strixon Cleveland and Zexio Golf. Perry's been a wonderful guest on this show. Looking forward to having him back on the show again very soon. Check them out online again at WLXG.com, or do what I did, which is download the WLXG app. And folks, as you know, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort. Take a listen to our good friend Steve Rondinero about all the great things they've got going on up there this summer.
It's a Pete Dye masterpiece, the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort. Pete says its location on one of the highest points in Indiana makes it special.
The long views, you can see maybe 20 and 30 miles from many of the fairways and many of the tees and greens. and you can see it in 360 degrees.
Donald Ross's Hill Course put French Lick on the golf map more than 100 years ago. It's where Walter Hagen won the 1924 PGA Championship, and the place where today's Symetra Tour ladies battle each year.
It's the ambience around it that makes the golf course.
Combine our many resort amenities with legendary golf, and you have a getaway like no other. French Lick Resort is the home of the Senior LPGA Championship, won in 2018 by World Golf Hall of Famer Laura Davies. Play the courses champions play. Plan your trip now, online at FrenchLick.com.
Yeah, folks, go online to FrenchLick.com, and I'm telling you, see for yourself what a wonderful place they have up there, and you can book your stay there as well. Also want to remind you about our good friends at the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. Now, we got Scott White coming on the show a little bit later, but we like to remind you every week about the great things that they've got going on there. So, folks, if you haven't hit Ben Hogan irons since maybe the 80s or the 90s, do yourself a favor and get a demo iron from either their Fort Worth, PTX, new PTX Pro, or Edge irons, and go out on the range and compare it with whatever it is you got in your bag right now. Now, all Ben Hogan irons and wedges are handcrafted one at a time in their Fort Worth, Texas factory, so no mass production, no shortcuts. Now you can order custom-made irons, wedges, and hybrids by going online to benhogangolf.com, and they're going to build those clubs to your specifications, and best of all, charge you a fraction of the typical retail price. Check out their complete line of forged irons, wedges, utility irons, hybrids, bags, accessories, and now their new GS53 drivers and fairway woods, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show with Scott. But go online to benhogangolf.com and check them all out. Please also check out our friends at the Bobby Jones Apparel Company by going online to bobbyjones.com. They've got their summer collection out. The thoughtful selections are rooted in character and endurance, and the signature details, colors, and fabrications remind you that you are well on the way to the game that you are meant to play on the course and in the course of life. Check out their summer collection online at bobbyjones.com. All right, now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is Paul Ramee. Let me remind you about Paul's background. Played his college golf at Seton Hall. Paul became a Class A certified PGA professional back in 1996. In 2013, he was named the Horton Smith Award winner for his dedication to education. Paul has been an assistant golf professional at the Park Country Club up in Williamsville, New York, Canoe Brook Country Club in Summit, New Jersey, and at Oakmont Country Club as well. He was one of the inaugural instructors at the Golf Channel Golf Academy, which you can see on the Golf Channel and golfchannel.com. He was a 2016 Connecticut PGA Section Teacher of the Year Award winner. Golf Digest consistently ranks him as one of the top 3 instructors in the state of Connecticut. And since 2003, he has been the director of golf and club manager at Bulls Bridge Golf Club in Kent, Connecticut, which is in the western part of the state, almost right there on the New York border. And I'm very honored to have him back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, Paul. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for having me back.
So, Paul, before we get into all the golf stuff, I want to get an update on your son, Hunter, who is a tremendous college golfer. He followed you at Seton Hall. So give us an update. How's Hunter doing?
It's nice of you to ask. He had a decent freshman year. He didn't have a whole lot of expectations, played a couple events in the fall, and unfortunately didn't play too much in the spring. But fortunately for his mom and dad, he didn't make a bogey in the classroom and ended up the year on the dean's list. And he's back home now working hard for his full complement of summer events. And they've got a couple kids graduating, so he's hoping to, move up the roster spots on the team.
So, Paul, now that he's back for summer, is it something you're going to work on his game with him as an instructor, or do you have to sort of step back and just be dad and let his coach be the guy that works with him on his game?
No, I've been working with him for a while here, and he actually had a couple lessons with Tom Patri, believe it or not, who's going to be on your show here later. And yeah, I've known Tom for, better part of 20, 25 years. And, Tom was in Naples and out on Long Island. It just became a little bit too tough to get to Tom. So I've taken over that responsibility. And I work with a couple of the other kids on the team at Seton Hall before Hunter got there. So, I head down, probably twice a month while they're in school. A couple times the boys came up to Connecticut to visit us. And, now that he's home, we're back out on the range, and we've had a little bit of a tough spring weather-wise up here. So he's actually been hitting some balls in my indoor facility, which I've actually closed down, now for the summer season. But he's working hard, and he knows I'm here. I'm probably hovering a little bit too much for him, but he knows that I'm here, and if he needs me, I'm willing to jump in.
And Paul, we talk a fair amount on this show about the mental side of the game, and I was curious, for Hunter or for your students, when you start working with them or you start communicating those sorts of things, with your son, how do you help him deal with the mental side of the game, particularly, as you get through high school and into college, you're starting to play in front of some crowds. Right now, you've got some galleries there, and that may be the first time that he starts to deal with those sorts of things, or even for your students and the members, at where you're at. How do you help them deal with playing in front of the crowd for the first time?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think, initially first you see the people, and then secondarily you got to tune them out or lots of times let them frame your targets. The more the people that you have lined in the fairways, the more that they become kind of natural borders and let the fairway kind of stick out. And also with the green, when you're hitting your approach shot into the green, that semicircle of people around the green is your target. And that's where you're looking to, hit it in between them. I mean, obviously people at the tour level are much more familiar with hitting it, around fans, but, it's just something that you'll get better at as you continue to do it.
How's it being his dad out in the gallery watching him?
It's terrible. I mean, his first event I drove, it was a Saturday. With GolfStat now, I can track just about every third hole they post his score. So I bailed out of work on a Saturday, and the second Saturday of September drove 6 hours to Colgate to kind of catch him, afternoon around there. And he shot one over in his first college round, and then, followed it up with a couple over par in the afternoon. I think he got a little fatigued, but yeah, it's terrible. I would rather be the one hitting the golf shots than watching my kids hit their golf shots anytime. So I'm a basket kid. Switching gears
a little bit. It looks like you recently took a trip over to Scotland, and from some of the things you posted on social media, it looks like one of those golf trips of a lifetime. Talk about what you did over there and where you played.
Yeah. So actually, honestly, I take about 15 members every year to Scotland or Ireland. So we've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years, and we've got a great group of people who go every year. So we started out the first day at Nairn, which is just, in the last 15 years hosted the Walker Cup. Then we went up to the Scottish Highlands. We had a little bit of rain there the first day. Then next day we played at Brora in the morning and Royal Dornoch. Which is, top 5 in the world. Brora is an interesting golf course. Their maintenance budget is like $200,000. They literally have sheep and cattle that graze and cut the rough in the fairway. So they have electric fences around each green that you got to step over, so the cattle and the sheep don't step up on the greens.
Wow.
Then we played Castle Stewart, which is a newer, a little bit more Americanized golf course, owned by the same people that own Kings Barnes. It was some beautiful views. And the real, I always say to the members that I'm taking over, I hope we get like 9 holes of real Scottish weather. Well, we play this golf course called Cruden Bay, which is an amazing golf course. The routing, the views, there's a huge old castle there, which was the inspiration for, Bram Stoker was on a ship coming into port there at Cruden Bay, and he saw this castle, and it was his inspiration for Dracula. That's how old and medieval this area is. And it was unfortunate. That was the one day we got the sideways rain, the 30 mile per hour winds, and the 50-degree weather, because some of the views there are just amazing. But Cruden Bay was an incredible golf course. And then the last day was we were supposed to play Cruden Bay again, but unfortunately we couldn't. So we got on a golf course called Panmure, which is right next door to Carnoustie. Now we've played Carnoustie in some of our prior trips. So, a couple of the members were asking about why aren't we playing Carnoustie again? But Panmure turned out to be the golf course that Hogan, prior to the 53 Open at Carnoustie, he went to Panmure for the 2 weeks before and practiced there basically on the 5th and 6th hole, which are 6th and 7th hole, these 2 great par 4s. that, he believes got him ready for playing at Carnoustie and ultimately winning in 1953.
So you got the sideways rain, so you got that piece. Now, so often we hear about those sorts of conditions over there. You get all 4 seasons in the course of a round of golf. So you got the sideways rain piece. Did you get the winter, summer, and fall as well?
Well, yeah, we did. I mean, we had it, one day was 50, and then one day we were down to, just golf shirts, 70 degrees one day at Royal Dornoch, and the sun came out and it was beautiful. So you experience all 4 seasons.
So, Paul, bringing it back to home, talk about your home course, Bullsbridge Golf Club, because from what I've seen online, it looks like a great Tom Fazio design. Talk about what it's like there.
Well, I've been very fortunate. I've been here since the beginning, 2003. We have it's really a second home community. I call it the anti-Hamptons. It's for people that don't want to schlep out, east after a long week in Manhattan. They get in their cars, they drive up to the country here. We've got about 160 members, play about 8,000 rounds of golf a year. It's a great group of people. It allows me to really interact with people. Fazio did a magnificent job. We started about 800 feet above sea level. You kind of play down and then you play back up, and you never really feel like you're, standing on the side of a hill like some of the golf courses you do, like in Vermont. But it's a great group of people. We have a great instruction program, a pretty good junior golf program, and it's a place I hope I can retire from in about 20 years.
So let's expand a little bit on that and talk about your instructional program, and then certainly talk about the junior golf program that you got there. But I wanted to start with, now I saw on the site, bullsbridgegolfclub.com, and you go under the family friendly tab, and there's a picture of a junior golfer hitting water balloons with an iron. What's that thrill?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's you got to hook them with and let them believe that golf is fun before you really start to throw all the etiquette and rules at it. We've got a philosophy that it's okay. A busy day for us during the week in the summer is about 30 people, so kids can really be kids. There, they can run around. We got a frosty machine. And they're having ice cream every time we have a break. And there's pictures of my kid on there holding a frog. I mean, they leave ending up thinking that golf is fun. At the end, we kind of trick them, we're competing against tennis and lacrosse and, ice hockey up here. So it's our way of kind of setting the hook early with these kids and creating lifelong golfers.
So let's talk a little bit about the other instructional programs that you have there. And I saw that you were partnering with Swing U on an instructional and training app. Talk about what that's all about.
Yeah. So pretty excited about this. We're just unveiling it, just kind of out of the beta stage now. Ability for me to upload content whenever whatever I want, basically. Walking down the fairway, you come up with a drill, you just load it up, and other things like the pictures from our recent golf trip to Scotland. So, the ability, I'm not hoping to slow down play, but if somebody's out there and they're on the golf course and they come into a situation at our course where we play 8,000 rounds, there's never anybody behind you and they've got the ball below their feet, they can go to the app real quick and take a look on how to hit that shot. I wouldn't recommend it for, the course where they're doing 25,000 rounds, but for my members and my students, I think it's, it was something that I've always thought that I wanted to do, and Swing U came along. They've been terrific. I'm looking forward to using this device, this app for years to come.
Paul, I want to get a couple of playing lessons for our listeners as well from you. And one of the toughest shots in golf is when we've short-sighted ourselves just off the green in some heavy rough. It's a shot we typically, we're either trying to scoop it out and we hit it fat, or we just dump it right there, and don't move the ball very far or scull it, completely across the other side of the green. So how can we do a better job of getting that ball on the green and close to the hole?
Yeah, well, I see that a lot. We've got a lot of steep embankments at Bullsbridge, and I really like to see, to begin with, people keeping a lot of weight on their left side. The scooping, the hitting behind it, the hitting thin comes from when that weight shifts from the left side to the right side, and that golf club gets into the grass behind the ball, the thick grass behind the ball. So I like to see people set up with about 70% of their weight on their left side, maybe get a little taller. That's going to help with a steeper angle of attack. And then really feel like you lift the club. I like to see the left wrist almost get a little cupped in the backswing. That would mean, like rather than having your left wrist roll around you, feel like it's moving upward, and then really allowing that club to, come down steeply, into the ball. And then I almost like to see a little bit of a lower finish. A lot of times when people try and create a higher finish, that golf club leaves the hitting area too quickly. And once again, that leading edge can get into the ball, or we can get a little heavy.
Paul, another shot we've been talking about here recently, my father and I actually had this conversation this past weekend, is using the hybrid around the greens to chip with. Talk about how the ground can be our friend, how we can more effectively use the hybrid versus choosing a well-lofted club.
Yeah, well, having just come back from Scotland, this was a shot that I talked to a lot of my members about when we were over there. There's so much tight grass, and you first have to identify it, Chris. I think the hard part is so many times people just kind of default to their lob wedge, and I'm only 6 paces off. I'm going to take that lob wedge, and you got this tight grass, and going back to the last question, that body starts moving a little bit. That sand wedge is going to bounce off that grass right into the back of that ball. So, we talked a lot about this on our Scotland trip with, using your putter or using your hybrid. And, I get in there and try and choke down a little bit first on the hybrid. I play the ball still in the middle of my stance. I use a putting motion. You have to develop a little bit of touch. It takes a little bit of time. Not every shot is the same. So you have to, realize that ball is going to come off of that hybrid with a little more pop. And, that little bit of loft on that hybrid is going to help get that ball initially off the ground, get it up on top of the grass, and get it rolling, hopefully up onto the green and close to the hole. Similar to my putting motion, I'm not engaging my wrists or, my elbows at all, just trying to, use my shoulders and arms and swing that, just back and forth like my putter.
And so sticking in that same sort of area, I think one of the things that we all struggle with is trying to get to club selection, right? We talk about the hybrid here. You mentioned sand wedge. If it's just a sort of a flat lie, and now we're somewhere in that 20, 30 yards off the green, or even closer for that matter. Talk about your idea for shot selection. How do we know, or for club selection, how do we know which one to go with? Should we be using a lower lofted club like a 7 or an 8 iron, 9 iron pitching wedge? How do you teach your students to decide which club to pull?
So I'll take a lot of my, that's a great question. I'll take a lot of my students out to an area and I'll put 3 tees in the ground. I'll put, we have a lot of long greens at Bullsbridge. So I'll take them out, 20 paces off the green or something. I'll put a tee, 5, 6 paces on, the next tee, 10, 15 paces on, the next tee, 20, 25 paces on. And Hogan had an old saying, if the pin's in the front, the ball goes in high. Pin's in the back, the ball goes in low. The pin's on the left, it goes in right to left. The pin's on the right, goes in left to right. So I'll try and get in there and I'll get 3 different clubs with them. I may get their sand wedge, their 9 iron, and their 7 iron, and we'll stand there from the same spot and we'll try and make the same swing. Now, this is a little bit bigger than the swing I just explained where, it's just a putting motion. This is a little bit bigger than your typical putting motion, but it's still, I'm still not using much wrist hinge or elbows at all. So if we can kind of continue to make a bigger one lever motion, a bigger, almost where you're swinging that club, just shy of waist high and you haven't really engaged the wrist yet, and then swinging it through to a similar length on the follow through, you use that, that pitching wedge or sand wedge first, you're going to have a little bit higher trajectory. The ball's not going to have as much run out. You go to that 9 iron, you're going to have a mid-height trajectory, mid trajectory, and then, some run out. And then you go to that 7 iron when that ball, it pins in the back, and that ball is going to have a lower trajectory, obviously, and a little bit more run. But, we've kind of made one motion, and, you're kind of in a little bit of a gray area here. You're not chipping, and you're not out there pitching where you need to start hinging and using your wrists and elbows much. But so in that gray area, you can kind of, accomplish, 3, 4, 5, 6 different distances with the same motion and different clubs. But, same thing, a lot of weight, some weight on the left side. So we make sure we're catching that ball first. We don't want to, get moving around and hit into the ground, behind it.
So One more before I let you go, Paul, and staying on
absolutely.
that same sort of, that same area. Talk about stance and ball position. I've seen people with a shoulder width stance. I've seen it with feet almost close together. I've seen Phil Mickelson talk about, either the ball is way forward off the front toe or is either way back off the back toe. Talk about what you teach and how we should be, ball position and standing up to that shot.
Yeah, so I think, starting out with stance width, you have to assess somebody's mobility and stability. I mean, if somebody's got bad balance, you might go with a little bit wider stance. If somebody's, pretty agile, maybe you get them a little bit more narrow so they to maintain their mobility. And then I'm a believer that if we're just trying to hit a standard trajectory shot, that, you're kind of your 7-iron through sand wedge is played from the middle of your stance. Then you would move the golf ball, a half-inch forward for each club, moving, all the way to just about, your left instep with the driver. I'm a believer that you get that golf ball in the front of your stance, it's going to be more likely to let people, move through the golf shot, get onto their left leg. We start bringing that ball too far back in their stance, unless you're hitting a specialty shot, a low shot, if you're playing in some wind, and you move it back in your stance a little bit. That ball should be from, played from the center of your stance, up towards your left instep with the driver. But like I said, I really do assess, stance width based on what I see in the person's, mobility and how stable they are.
Paul, before we let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing and follow you, whether it's online or it's on social media?
www.paulrameegolf and .com, obviously, and then on Twitter at Paul Ramee Golf, Instagram, Paul Ramee Golf. That's about it.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. I hope you'll do it again soon. I always like spending time with you.
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Great talking to you, and so tell Tom Patri there that I said hi, and good luck out there in Indiana this summer.
I will do it. Take care, Paul. All the best to you and your family.
Thanks,
we'll catch up soon.
You too. Thanks so much. Bye.
That is the great Paul Ramee, Ramee. So check him out online, paulrameegolf.com, and on social media at Paul Ramee. I tell you, folks, you take a look at some of the things that he posts. First, from an instructional perspective, great videos out there available. Again, as I mentioned in his intro, one of the inaugural instructors at Golf Channel Academy. So great stuff available out there in video, and then also stuff that you'll find on his website and on social media as well. Look forward to having Paul back on the show again soon. All right, before I get to my next guest, Bill Bergin, I want to remind you about a few of our sponsors. And first, folks, well, golf, TaylorMade has done it again. The all-new TaylorMade M5 and M6 drivers are available, and what a story they have. They both feature speed-injected twist face, created through a revolutionary manufacturing process where every single head, and I do mean every single head, is injected and calibrated to the threshold of the legal limit. Basically, every head now is tour spicy, so speed for all of us. Check them out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com. Also, want to give a shout out to one of our newer sponsors, the Sandestin Resort. Surrounded by white sandy beaches and the beautiful Gulf of Mexico, Sandestin Golf and Beach Resorts offer 3 championship golf courses open to the public and 1 semi-private course. With recognition from leading golf magazines and reviewers from around the world, each course provides an exciting challenge in different scenic settings. Golfers can choose to play one or all of the courses, which include Raven Golf Club, the Robert Trent Jones Jr. layout that played host to the PGA Champions Tour back in 2006 and 2007. The Links Golf Club, designed by Tom Jackson, which offers a winding layout against a backdrop of Baytown Marina in the Choctawhatchee Bay. Baytown Golf Club, also designed by Tom Jackson, which also offers a 5th set of U.S. Kids Juniors tees. And then there's Burnt Pines Golf Club, which is a semi-private Reese Jones design, available only to get registered Sandestin guests. So be sure to check that out. Stay on property so you can play that one as well. Visit them online at sandestin.com/tee time or give them a call at 844-887-SAND to find out more information and to book your tee times. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends over at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
And now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is Bill Bergin, and let me remind you about Bill's background. Played his college golf at Auburn University from 1978 to 1981 and was named a first-team All-SEC player every year and he helped Auburn win the 1981 SEC championship. His 65 during the 1979 Pan American tournament still ranks as one of the lowest 18-hole scores in Auburn golf history. Played in over 250 professional tournaments worldwide, including 3 U.S. Opens, 2 Open Championships, and over 50 PGA Tour events. He's now recognized as one of the top golf course designers in the world. He started his own design business. It's called Bergin Golf Designs, and you can check them out online at bergingolf.com. He's involved in over 70 golf course design projects, and he's got some renovations going on as well, some very close to me here in Atlanta. And I'm very excited to have Bill back on the show with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Bill, thanks for joining me tonight, my friend.
Hey, Chris, it's always good to be with you.
I appreciate you. So, Bill, like I say in your intro, you've got so many great projects in the works and some that you've recently completed. I wanted to start by getting an update on a course that I'm dying to play, and that's the Macklemore up there outside of Chattanooga, the one you collaborated with Reese Jones on. So talk about how that course is coming and when the grand opening is going to be.
Well, Chris, that date is coming soon. It is June 22nd, and we are more than excited. This is a really dramatic, exciting piece of property, and we are thrilled to show it off. And of note, it's a beautiful golf course. It sits up on Lookout Mountain. So if you picture this mountain plateau that's relatively, I can't call it flat because it's not, but you're up on top of this ridge. You look down 1,000 feet to Macklemore Cove, and our golf course sits up on top of that. And it is just an amazing, rocky, rugged piece of property, very natural, and an exciting place to just go for a walk, much less play golf. So we are really excited to show it off. June 22nd will be the day. Reese Jones will be in town, and Steve Weiser as well. So the three of us will be having some fun that day.
And Bill, you've got another course that's even closer to me here in Atlanta, Dalton Golf and Country Club, that you're working on. Talk about what's going on there.
Well, that's funny you asked, because I was actually just working on that one. And Dalton is an exciting project for me personally. I won the Georgia Amateur there in 1981. So I have a history with the club. And to be able to go back and work on a course that I have, fond memories of and have had success on is really exciting. And it's a great responsibility as well. But it's one of those sites that it's old school golf in that there aren't really houses on the golf course. It's sort of a rectangular piece of property with nothing but golf. It has some nice ponds and some streams that run through it. And otherwise, it's just that ideal site where you get to do old school golf. And the club originated in 1915. Now, on this site, it was built probably around 1970. But we're going to make it look like it was 1915 on this site. We're going to take it way back and do old school design. We've got the property for it, and we have the appetite for it, and we have the history for it. So we're gonna transform Dalton Country Club, take it back as far as the way it looks, but we're gonna, obviously bring it into the 21st century as far as maintenance and equipment and all of that kind of stuff. We want it to function like a modern golf course, but play like an old one.
So when will that be ready?
So we just got approval. The members just voted to do the project. I am working on grading plans as we speak, getting ready to, we do grading plans and drainage plans and cut and fill plans and irrigation plans and all of that. All of that's happening this summer. We will take it for bid and permitting towards the middle to late end of summer, and we will start construction early next spring, sometime after the first year. And then it will be scheduled for reopening around September of 2020. We want to be, one of those courses that's thought of, throughout the state of Georgia. And Georgia has some great golf. And Dalton's got such a good history. It's one of the original clubs from 1915. And we just want to, I can't wait to have the Georgia Amateur come back there, several years after we finish this project. That will be very rewarding for me to see the young guys going after the state championship trophy on that course again.
And Bill, you mentioned old school golf. Now, with the PGA Championship being played at Bethpage Black, week before last, and it's a great Tillinghast design. You've done some renovation at another Tillinghast course, Oaks Country Club out in Tulsa. Talk about that and what it's like to come in to do some renovation work on a course designed by a legend like Tillinghast.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been fortunate to work on about 4 different
classic or golden age architects, from Ross, Tillinghast, Rayner, and recently William Langford. And so, to work on these, they're practically masterpieces when you think about it because of the history. All these clubs are 100 years old or so. And so it's a big responsibility on each of those, except for the Rayner. Somebody else had already renovated the course extensively. And so the historical aspects have been changed dramatically. And so our job was to go back and restore it. Not a perfect restoration, because green speeds today are completely different from what they were back then. But I took the renovation plans at the Oaks that Mark Hayes had done, and I didn't really look at what he did. I looked at his base topo, because his base topo were Tillinghast greens. And so I copied the base topo off of each of those plans and basically drew greens plans that reflected what Tillinghast had, but then I adjusted the contour to fit with where we could run the greens at 12 or 13 on the stimp meter instead of 6 or 7. So, I mean, it's literally that dramatic a difference. And then we looked at fairway widths and bunker positioning, and on today's modern course, there's cart paths in the wrong place, and back then they didn't have any cart paths. So it's fun to really look back at the old aerial photographs and learn as much as you can about these projects, and then bring them to the club in today's time. And the nice thing about the Oaks, they now have a waiting list, and they've never had a waiting list to join their club in history. And so that's a really a great testament to, one, this Tillinghast property, and two, the work that we did to bring it to life.
So take that a step further, Bill. And as you mentioned, looking at aerial photos, what's the process? How do you go back and make sure that you're doing justice to the original design, to as much as you possibly can, based on, as you say, you got to do something to modernize them a bit. But how do you make sure that you're being true to what Tillinghast and some of those other guys really intended the course to look like?
So Tillinghast was probably the most versatile or diverse architect of the Golden Age. In other words, his courses did not all look alike. You can tell a Mackenzie golf course, you can tell a Ross course, you can, this Langford I just did, you can tell Rayner and McDonald, you can tell their golf courses. Tillinghast had a much wider variety. He had 3 basic bunker styles that he used on different courses. And I was fortunate when I was in college at Auburn, I played in the U.S. Open at Baltusrol in 1980. And that was my first Tillinghast experience, or at least that I remember. And so in doing research, because I knew Baltusrol, I decided to do as much history searching as I could. And I looked at old photographs of Wingfoot, Baltusrol, Quaker Ridge, a ton of Tillinghast golf courses. I looked at the bunkers and looked at the style of the golf courses and said, okay, this is what I would like to do here at the Oaks. And the members respected that, and they bought in completely that this is what we would do. And then we restored fairway widths, but we didn't do it exactly like it was. We took most of the big concepts, other than the great desert, that Tillinghast often had a big bunker complex that crossed a fairway. We did not do that at the Oaks. And we didn't see evidence of one either. So in the old aerials, so we didn't see that they had one, but that's something you'll see like on the 17th hole at Baltusrol, for example.
So, Bill, in the way we talk with reverence about great golf course designers like a Tillinghast or a Robert Trent Jones or a Tom Fazio, a Donald Ross, or even Alistair McKenzie, very soon, Bill Bergin is going to be on that list. So you've got a great legacy going already, and I'm sure it's just going to build throughout the rest of your career. Do you ever let that sort of set in and realize the impact that you're making on the game of golf, not just now for the renovations and the courses that you're in the process of building, but the impact that you're leaving behind and the legacy that you are leaving behind for generations of golfers to come?
In the early days, I certainly did not think about that, Chris, but now I've been in business for 25 years with my own company. So that's a milestone right there. And now we're working on better and better projects. We're getting to work on some of the top projects in the Southeast, and even Minnesota, Oklahoma, and we're starting to branch out more than just, I'm going to Arkansas next week to look at a project. So we're starting to go more places. But to work on these historical projects is really exciting. And then, of course, I've got some new courses out there too. And the Macklemore course, we have the possibility of a future brand new golf course up there as well to go with the one we already have. So that would be something that would be really exciting. And then right now we're doing 5 courses in the mountains and 1 at the beach, not to mention Dalton and some other projects. So we're somebody was kidding with me that I've kind of got Western North Carolina wrapped up, but the truth is Tom Fazio has got a lot of that as well.
So, Bill, when you're doing an original course design, when you're laying it out and trying to figure out, the distance of holes and what that's all going to look like, is there a goal for you to make sure that a player is tested throughout his or her bag? Like, you want to make sure that, hey, they're going to have to hit, driver, 3-wood. They're going to have to hit a long iron to get into this par 4. They're going to have to hit a short one here. They're going to have to play it left to right and right to left, so that we sort of get through all of our bag and all of our shots in order to, play successfully on one of your designs?
Absolutely. That's certainly the goal. But the land's telling you what to do. And so, the first thing you're doing is you're looking at a topo map and you're deciding, okay, here are some holes that really speak to me on the topo map. That, you're looking at it 3-dimensionally, it's coming to life, and you're saying, this is a great area. I'm going to start here. And you're basically putting together a 20-piece puzzle. You've got 18 holes, you have a clubhouse area, you have practice facilities, and you may have real estate as well. And so you've got a lot of components that are going into that. But you're exactly right. I am way interested in club selection diversity. I don't believe in overall yardage as much as I believe in that diversity. I want a short par 3. I want a couple middle-length par 3s. I'd like one long one. I want 2 or 3 good long par 4s on a golf course. I mean, Chattanooga is one of our favorite. It's Ross that we redid. And it's a little bitty golf course, only about 6,700 yards, but we have 2 par 4s over 470 yards. And so those really stand the test, but we also have 2 par 4s under 320 yards. So that takes yardage away. We have a 125-yard par 3 and a 225-yard par 3. So again, I like yardage diversity. I don't want you just hitting driver 9-iron on every par 4. I want you tested on a few, and I want to give you opportunities. I really feel like the best courses have this basic flow between opportunities and challenges. And you got to take advantage of those opportunities because you are going to be challenged at some point during the round.
Well, a couple more before I let you go. And you talk about distances and diversity and that sort of thing. Well, you've seen the performance of the golf ball evolve over the years. And I love one of the recent tweets that you put out when you found an old Dunlop Blue Dot golf ball on one of your job sites. Talk about that and what it was like playing those golf balls versus today's golf ball.
It's funny. We put that ball on the ground on our office and hit a couple of chip shots with it. And if you hit a golf ball, one of the old balls, with a wooden club or even with an iron, it sounds like you're hitting a bar of soap. And today's balls are so loud. And there's just no comparison to what, I don't think people that are playing today can even imagine what it's like. I know our golf coach at Auburn University at one point had taken out, I don't know where he got the Bellata balls, but he took out some Bellata balls and took out an old set of clubs. And the first hole at Auburn, the young guys can probably hit 3-wood and 8 or 9 irons would be how they'd play the hole. And with a wooden club and a Bellata ball, I think they were hitting driver 4 irons. So just a completely different game. And so, the equipment, certainly the ball makes a huge difference. And then when you're swinging a 45-inch driver versus a 43-inch driver, you're simply going to hit it farther. And they couldn't make a 45-inch driver in 1980 that you really could control consistently. It was too heavy. It just didn't have the materials that they have today that are so good. And plus you remember what those heads looked like. They were tiny. So quite a difference. But golf is still a hard game, and it's still a great game, and people, love playing. But it is hard to design for today's college or elite player or professional simply because they hit it so far. It was great to see Colonial this week. Kevin Na, not necessarily a long hitter, on an old school golf course, got the job done and really, really played great.
Bill, I want to get your thoughts. I know you're doing some work with Jason Duffner to help provide meals to kids in the Auburn, Alabama area. Talk about what you guys are doing together.
Well, that's Jason's deal. So he has done an amazing thing. He started a foundation that feeds hungry kids at school, and he feeds, I don't know if it's 10 or 15. I don't have the stats, but I participated in an event that he had, and I was really glad to do so and look forward to doing it again next year and contributing to this. But he raised $150,000 in one day, and he had guys like Matt Kuchar there, and Billy Horschel was there, and Ricky Fowler was there. And this was a fantastic event that I just was a participant and really enjoyed it. I actually got to play with Jason, though, so that was fun because I spent, 4.5 or 5 hours or whatever that was with him and learned about this. But what a great thing that he's doing. And right after that, after playing with us, he went up to Quail Hollow and made a good run at trying to win the golf tournament. I think he finished in the top 5, which was his best event for the year. So he's working on his game. He always hits it great. He needs to get the ball in the hole and a little quicker, a few less shots, and he'll be fine.
Bill, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing, whether it's on your website or it's following you on social media.
Yeah, well, we're really active on social media. We share our projects. We show progress shots all the time of what's happening, and it's sort of you get a little education about golf course design. But BerginGolf.com is our website, and then we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and just Google Bergin Golf, and you'll find us. Because it's people enjoy golf, they enjoy the pictures, and we're getting to work in some beautiful places. And tomorrow we're heading up to Roaring Gap, North Carolina. We're leaving this 90-degree weather, and it's going to be nice and cool and no humidity up there. So that will be a really nice thing.
Good for you. Bill, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. Always have such a great time spending time with you. Hope you'll come back and join me again. Give us an update again soon.
My pleasure, Chris, and I need to get you up to Macklemore. That's really, again, an exciting place, and we can't wait for June 22nd.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, too, so I look forward to the opportunity playing there. So I appreciate you very much, Bill. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
See you, Bill. That is a great Bill Bergin. Again, BerginGolf.com is the name of his website, and you can follow him on Twitter and on Instagram at Bill at Bergin Golf as well. So I tell you what, folks, he sort of underplayed, if you can imagine, how beautiful Macklemore is, and he was, gave it, some glowing remarks. Well, I tell you what, if you go on that site and check it out to see what it actually looks like and the views, he talked about the views. I mean, it's spectacular. Like you said, it's amazing just to be able to walk out there, and then to think you get to play golf out there as well. It's absolutely outstanding. I can't encourage you highly enough to check out what that golf course looks like. Opening June 22nd, right outside of Chattanooga. Boy, I'm just, hopefully I get the opportunity to get up there and check it out because it looks like just an absolutely spectacular golf course. All right, before I get to my next guest, Tom Patri, I want to give a shout out to one of our new friends that we've been following online over on Twitter, and that is Positive Vibes Golf. Go check them out online at positivevibesgolf.com and follow them at pvibesgolf. Their head covers and putter covers, folks, are absolutely spectacular. They're a unique way to keep your mind focused on positive thoughts during the course of your round of golf. Positive and to put positive, happy images in your mind. Go see what I mean. Check them out online at positivevibesgolf.com. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends over at 2 Under. I want to welcome our newest sponsor, 2 Under Men's Performance Briefs, the unofficial underwear of the PGA Tour. Worn by PGA Tour players like Ricky Fowler, David Toms, Jerry Kelly, William McGirt, Jason Kokrak, and Matt Everett, to name just a few. Your buddies are going to think you're a stud if they're even seeing you in your underwear, but that's another story. And your girlfriend and her wife is going to love the side effects, a visibly enhanced profile. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management. It separates a man's most valuable assets from bodily contact to reduce unwanted skin-on-skin contact, providing less chafing, more control, and an altogether more luxurious feel. Start every round 2 Under by wearing the coolest performance briefs on the market. Use code ONTHET20 to save 20% off your order at 2under.com. And that's the number 2, UNDR.com. And now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is my good friend Tom Patri. I think, when you have been a part of the show for a 16th time, which it'll be tonight, his 16th appearance here on the show, I can refer to you as our resident golf instructor. He certainly is one of my favorite people on the planet. He is one of the top instructors in the game. Golf Tip magazine has him as a top 25 instructor, and he's the new director of instruction at the Hawthorns Golf and Country Club up in Fishers, Indiana. And that, of course, is Tom Patri, and I'm very excited he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, TP. How are you, my friend?
Christopher, my man. What's going on, big boy?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are things up in Fishers, Indiana?
Well, before we get into that, I want to just go back a little bit and just give a shout-out to your two previous guests, because Bill Bergin in the world of golf course architecture and Paul Ramee in the world of teaching are two of the most unsung heroes out there. Just both very, very talented in their particular fields, and guys I have great admiration for. Paul's been a friend for a long time. Billy and I played against each other in college. We've known each other for the better part of, 40 years now. Really talented guys, and what great guests you have there in those two guys, huh, Chris?
Yeah, no question. And Paul wanted me to give you a shout out because he had talked earlier in the show about some work you had done with his son Hunter for a while, so he wanted me to be sure to say hi to you for him as well.
People. So wonderful people. Paul comes from the Bob Ford lineage, famous Bob Ford of Oakmont and Seminole, and had some great training there, and just part of that network of professionals that Bob Ford has produced, and he's done Bob really proud in his career. He's a wonderful guy.
Indeed, I couldn't agree with that statement more. So, TB, tell us, how are things at the new summer home at the Hawthorns Golf and Country Club there in Fishers, Indiana?
Well, Chris, I'm right now. I'm in the midst of building an ark because it's been raining so much here. I've gone out and bought a life preserver today and a kayak, and if it doesn't stop raining, I'm gonna have to put the vest on and start swimming. It's been just coming down sideways here. We had a break in the weather today, and we got some lessons in. And in spite of the bad weather, it's been going great. The people have been wonderful. A big shout out to one of my students, I'm sure listening tonight, Brian Thornton, who's a guy who just made me feel so welcome here. The members are much like him. They've all been just great. Brian was a college basketball player at Xavier and now works for the NCAA. And they took me downtown and gave me a tour in the NCAA. And, the people just are so friendly here. It's been wonderful. So, we're off to a good start. If we can get the sun to come out a little bit, we'll be rocking and rolling.
Well, that's good news, because one of the things I wanted to kind of get your perspective on is, now you're up in a new area, a place where you've never lived before. Got to be a challenge to plop down in a new city with brand new clientele, brand new students, no family in the area. So, how are you finding trying to assimilate into the Midwest?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. I think people think that the life of a club pro or a teaching professional is pretty glamorous. And you go to work every day, you play a little golf, you give a few lessons, and you go home. This is my 39th year of what we call a split season, where I'll teach, at home in Florida during the winter, and then you got to leave Florida during the summer to make a living, but you just can't make a living teaching golf in Florida. And depending on where you're going and what your particular deal is with a particular club, sometimes your family comes with you, and most time they don't. So I'm in a stretch here where from May 4th till I'm gonna sneak home for a couple of days in late June. I'll go the better part of 7.5 weeks without seeing my wife, and that's not a lot of fun. And it can disguise in any way you want, but it's just not a lot of fun. So you get done at the end of the day teaching, and maybe you taught from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and maybe you go to the gym and work out, and you grab a meal somewhere in a restaurant, and you go back and you stare at the four walls and you watch about as much Sports Center as you can swallow, and you fall asleep and you do it again. So and I'm not trying to sound sorry for myself, because I'm part of a wonderful game and a wonderful group of people here, but it's not ideal. It's not as glamorous as people think it is necessarily.
Tom, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to get your thoughts on Brooks Koepka. He's got 4 major championship wins now. He's got 6 wins. If you count 2 others on the PGA Tour, plus he's got 1 over on the European Tour. So 6 or 7 wins, no matter depending on how you want to count it up. But when you look at a guy like him, right? He's the 5th wire-to-wire winner in the PGA Championship. So 5th time in history that someone won wire-to-wire. He's the first player in history to defend both the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship. And now he's tied for 4th with 7 other guys for the most major wins before the age of 30. So when you take a look at a guy like Brooks Koepka, and again, he's got an interesting sort of line, right? 4 majors, but only 2 other PGA Tour wins. What's your assessment on Koepka, and where does he fall now with in the history books, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, right now, at this moment, Chris, he's got to be considered the best player in the world today at this moment. 4 majors before at the age he's at right now. And by the way, although I think the American golfing public doesn't look at European Tour wins very closely or wins overseas, those are quality golf fields. Those are world-class fields. I mean, he's not like he's playing against, a bunch of second-rate players. By the way, do you remember the Ryder Cup score this year? Let's keep that in mind. So that's who he's playing against. Brooks Koepka is right now, at this moment, I might be sticking my foot in my mouth, is bulletproof. I mean, he drives the ball beautifully. He drives it a mile. He drives it in play for the most part. He's a wonderful iron player. He putts the ball fearlessly. He's got a fairly good wedge game. He controls his golf ball beautifully, both in terms of distance, direction, and trajectory. I mean, seriously. I mean, why is there any doubt about who Brooks Koepka is in the game right now and what he's accomplished in the last, 24 months? I mean, it's incredible what he's done. I mean, he basically, and listen, I'm not taking anything away from Tiger Woods at the Masters, but basically he gave Tiger Woods the Masters. He had 4 or 5 penalty shots and 4 or 5 3-putts. And lost by 2 there. I mean, or he would have won at Augusta also. And if he'd won at Augusta, what would we be talking about right now? It's just an incredible run of golf and some quality shot making. Incredible.
So to that end, and you mentioned Tiger, right? Do you think Tiger is, again, taking back the fact that, Brooks isn't out there winning 5, 6, 7 times a year in regular tour events, but when you look at his performance in the majors, to your point, he's a ball in the water on 12, probably from winning the Masters. And now he's won back-to-back U.S. Opens. He's won back-to-back PGA Championships. There's no reason to think he can't three-peat in the U.S. Open. So is Tiger looking at perhaps a younger version of himself with the power game, plus being able to be really good on the greens as well?
I think, Chris, we have to go back historically a little bit. We looked at Jack's dominances. His Jack's dominance in golf, and we looked at Watson playing great golfer streak at the time, and then we watched Greg Norman, roll off some great years, and now we watch Tiger, and now we're watching Brooks. And the one thing you got to keep in mind, and through all those different careers we just mentioned, the fields have gotten stronger and deeper and stronger and deeper. We talk about the guys at the top right now. We talk about DJ, we talk about Brooks. And we always talk about Tiger, it seems like, of course, and we should. But think about the cast of characters and how deep it is behind them, whether it's Justin Thomas or Rory McIlroy, and you just keep going, Ricky Fowler, and you just go down the line. I mean, the fields are so damn deep now, Chris. It's just incredible. So going to Pebble, which is a different type of a venue, okay, it's a little bit shorter venue than maybe, certainly a Bethpage Black. Played at 7,600 yards par 70, it brings a lot more players, I think, into the mix. It's not, let's put it this way. You can name whoever you want to, but Matt Kuchar wasn't going to win at Bethpage Black. I'm sorry. He just wasn't going to win there. And Kevin Kisner wasn't going to win at Bethpage Black. And Kevin Na was never going to win at Bethpage Black. But at Pebble Beach, at par 72 and a much shorter golf course than Black, you're bringing a lot more people back into the mix. So, listen, Brooks is definitely the favorite. Tiger won by 15 shots there. I mean, how many other guys could win there? Let's keep in mind, Graham McDowell won there, okay? He's not exactly overpowering. So I think it's going to be a little bit different open in terms of, how many guys could potentially win the event.
So let's take that a step further, Tom. When you look at some of the early views of what Pebble is starting to look like now, that they've grown up the rough very tall. It's also clumpy and uneven. So they're trying to, I think, put an emphasis on getting the ball, driving the ball in the fairway, just not bombing it to wherever and taking a short iron into the green. So I think in that respect, it's going to be similar to how at least the course setup was at Bethpage, but you're right, much shorter. But then you got a lot of wind conditions that we could see out there, so that could have a major factor in making the golf course play longer. So, what do you expect to see at the U.S. Open, and who do you expect to see as the guys at the top of the leaderboard on that Sunday?
Well, I certainly expect all the regular cast of characters. Don't get me wrong, Chris. DJ has a great history at Pebble. Tiger has a great history at Pebble. Brooks is Brooks, right? But, we're all waiting around for a guy like, for example, we're all waiting around for a guy like Ricky Fowler to win a major, okay? I think he's in play, certainly. Kevin Kisner comes to mind, as a guy who's a great ball striker and just tough as nails. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if a dark horse came out, out of the pack and played well at Pebble. So you're bringing guys like that back into play. Kuchar certainly hits the ball extremely straight. And he's toyed around with winning a major for a lot of years. Could this be his time? So you can go through some, and I don't want to call them second-tier players because they're not second-tier players. They're obviously wonderful, wonderful players, but you're bringing a lot more guys back into the mix. I mean, Justin Thomas. Now, we don't know how his wrist is right now, but you can never factor him out. He's such a great player. So I think Pebble will be interesting because I think the leaderboard could get, and I hope it does, get really, really jammed up a little bit, and that would be a lot of fun. Keep in mind, Chris, also, and again, barring the wind and barring weather, a guy like Brooks will not have to hit driver a lot of times at Pebble if it's not really windy. If it's firm and fast, which it could be, he doesn't have to hit a lot of drivers there, and he could keep the ball in play with different golf clubs off the tee. So there's a lot of different storylines here that can come into play.
Tom, you've mentioned DJ a couple of different times through this. When you look at Brooks and DJ, is Brooks the man? Is DJ the man because he's won, way more golf tournaments than Brooks has? Who do you think is the guy to beat week in and week out now, and why?
Well, it's really interesting. I've got to wonder, or I've got to kind of surmise that Brooks still has a chip on his shoulder. He feels like DJ's got a lot more attention, and maybe rightfully so with the number of wins he has. But if you made a choice, Chris, and yourself, would you take the majors or would you take the tour wins? And would you be DJ or would you be Brooks right now? So I think if you walked into somebody's den and you saw 18 trophies on the wall, 18 regular tour events, and you walked into the den next door and it had 4 major trophies on the wall, which den would you like to be yours?
I'll take the majors, thank you.
I'll take the 4 majors, right? So, I think Jack kind of not brainwashed us, but made us think about and rightfully put majors on a different pedestal. So I'm really happy for DJ that he won the Barclays a couple of times, but I'll take those 2 PGAs and those 2 U.S. Opens. And thank you very much. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. And I listen, I don't think Dustin Johnson is done. I don't think he's done by any stretch of the imagination. And if you said to me, Dustin Johnson is going to win 5 more majors, would I doubt you? I probably would. But if you said to me, Brooks is going to win 5 more too and have 9, would I doubt you? And the answer would be no either. So I think we got to wait for the history books to kind of be written. But I think you're going to see a lot of good golf and a lot of push and pull between those 2 guys over the next 10 years. It's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, the sad part of this whole deal is Tiger's 43. He doesn't have 10 more years. He might have 4, okay? But Brooks and DJ are going to be around for a while. And so is Justin Thomas, and so is Jordan Spieth, and so is Rory McIlroy, and so is Ricky Fowler. So we got a lot of good golf ahead of us here. A lot of good golf.
Tom, a couple more before I let you go. And you and I have been down on the USGA over the last couple of years, including just a couple of weeks ago when you were on the show talking about how poorly they handled the timing of the Women's Senior Open Championship. But surely, Tom, they can't mess up a U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, right? They can't do that. You can't mess up a U.S. Open at Pebble, can you?
I have a lot of faith that they can do it, Chris. You know, a lot of faith that they can do this. You know, I wouldn't sell them short. They've become experts. Now listen, I'm not going to mention a name, but I have a really close friend that works at the USGA in a very high position, and we had a conversation a while back, and it was a very benign conversation, and I couldn't even go there. And he's heard me be critical about the organization, and he kind of danced around it. But I just hope and pray for his sake, and he's a wonderful guy, and he has not been responsible for any of the blunders, but he's been on the periphery, and his position has been elevated, and I pray to God for his sake that everything goes well there, because he's a wonderful guy. But I'll tell you what, historically, if you and I got on the plane to Vegas tonight, we'd probably get pretty good odds on the fact that they could screw something up there.
Yeah.
You know,
Tom, you've got a great piece.
On the same point,
Finish your thought.
I was listening to a Sirius XM radio show on PGA Tour Network the other day, and I'll say it was a very well-known teacher who has a show. And although I'm not a big fan of this person, he has been on the USGA. He makes you and I look like we love the USGA, like we're their best friends. He just all he does is ride the USGA. But I got to tell you something. Every single point he made was valid. And I'm listening to it, thinking about you and I'm saying to myself, man, these guys are just taking heat from all directions right now. And with Pebble coming up, and, you know, who doesn't like to watch the U.S. Open coming from Pebble Beach on TV, right? I mean, the whole world will be tuned in. And Brooks is so hot right now, and DJ and all these. It's such a great build-up, Tiger. So, you know, if they lay an egg at Pebble, I just pray to God it goes well, please.
Tom, remind our listeners once again how they can stay up to date with all the great things you're doing and follow you, whether it's on your website or it's on social media.
Chris, the easiest way, of course, is www.tompatri.com. But there's a Facebook presence, and there's a Twitter presence, and a LinkedIn presence, and an Instagram presence. And none of that really matters. The place I like them to tune in the most is right here on your show, because this is the most fun we have a couple of times a month. And it's so fun to be part of the show. And it's so fun to be on after people like Bergin and after Ramee. And there's so many other great people you have on here, you know, whether it's Debbie O'Connell or Gail Graham or Allison Kerr. You just do such a great job, Chris, for us. And the golf world needs more of you. So thank you.
I appreciate you, Tom. Thank you very much. My friend, you are the best. I can't wait for a couple of weeks from now for us to get the opportunity to catch up again. It's always so much fun when you're a part of the show. I can't thank you enough for your time today.
Remember one thing, the listeners don't know that you were bad enough in my Yankees on text messages last night. So I'm not gonna forget that. I'm not gonna let you off on that one. So pal, just keep watching. This October's coming. Okay.
Go Red Sox. That's all I got for you,
yeah,
Tom. Go Red Sox. Randy World Series champions. Go Red Sox.
Yeah. Whatever. Pal, you have a great night. Thanks so much. Okay, buddy.
I appreciate you. See ya. That's the great Tom Patri, Patri, tompatri.com, and follow him on Instagram and on Twitter as well, at Tom Patri. He is fantastic and always makes the show so much fun. Looking forward to having Tom back on the show again in a couple of weeks. All right, I'll get to my next guest, Scott White, on the other side of this real quick station break.
Hear PGA and LPGA legends, pros, top instructors, and media members from around the country sharing their stories, insights, and playing lessons every week right here on Next on the Tee. Take it away, Chris.
And now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is the CEO of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company, and that is Scott White. Scott has done an outstanding job bringing one of the most iconic brands in golf back to life. The brand is back on tour as well, being played by J.J. Henry and Mark Brooks. They've got several great lines of irons that you hear me talking about every week here on the show, from their Fort Worth irons to their PTX and new PTX Pro line of irons to their Edge irons, their great line of equalizer wedges and the VKTR hybrids. And now this year, they've added a wonderful line of putters and now a new driver and a fairway wood, which I can't wait to talk about. And I'm very excited to have Scott back with me here on the show again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining me again tonight. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Chris. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. So, Scott, we got to get right into it because I am tickled pink and various other colors to hear about the driver and the fairway wood. And, boy, I've looked at them online, and the GS53 driver looks absolutely spectacular. Talk about what sets that driver apart from what's out there in the rest of the market.
Yeah, we're really excited about it as well. I mean, it's a classic Hogan look, and it first and foremost, we wanted to make sure it performed as well, if not better, than anything else on the marketplace, and we accomplished that. But the response and the opinions that we've received from people who've hit it and tried it, and it's only been on the market now for a week or so, is that it just looks so classic and elegant and such. It's so totally pure Hogan that. That's what really makes it different. There's nothing that's artificial about it. There's nothing extraneous. The graphics are really simplified, and that's what really sets it apart. If you look at it compared to some of the other products on the marketplace, all of which are great, ours just looks differently and performs great.
So, Scott, I saw that the face of the driver has varied thickness to increase the size of the sweet spot, but also helps maximize distance when you hit, on and off center hits, whether you hit it on the toe or hit it on the heel. Talk about the face of the club and how that helps make us hit more consistently straight shots.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's forged, which is unusual. We may be at this point the only driver on the market that has a forged face, and we think that's really important. It provides a lot more consistency. Doesn't have any hot spots or dead spots that an investment cast driver can have. But we have our own proprietary, what we call face map, and that's been done over the course of a lot of computer modeling, and provides, as you said, for varying thicknesses at different spots across the face. It's certainly, as you would expect, the thickest in the center of the club face, but thinner at the edges. And so if you're a player like me who doesn't hit the center of the club face very often, it minimizes distance loss. It really goes great and sounds great when you hit it in the middle of the club face, but again, if you're off on the toe or the heel, you're not going to lose a lot of distance. So it performs great and sounds great as well.
And then it's also very adjustable, right? You can change the loft, the lie, the face angle so that it can adjust to help us maximize our performance on our current swing. Talk about how easily it is adjustable for those of us who aren't experts in golf club equipment.
Yeah, we looked at a lot of the other adjustability features on competitive products, and just found them to be really quite confusing and difficult to adjust. And so we developed a pretty simplified process, or a simplified design we call it flight control. And it has 8 different settings. It's very easy to change and adjust. The loft goes up or down 1 degree. The face angle changes with those changes as well, as does the lie. And it's very intuitive. It can be done on a range or before your round in 10 seconds or less. What we really like about it, though, is that when you make these changes, it doesn't change the grip position or the shaft graphics position. So, I've had drivers, I'm sure we've all had drivers where you make changes and all of a sudden everything looks differently when you look down on the club in the playing position. But this keeps everything centered and keeps the position, again, of the grip and the shaft graphics in the way that you had originally aligned it. So it's a great system, really simple and really easy to use.
Scott, let's talk a little bit about the fairway woods. And the first thing that struck me when I was viewing some of the videos online was the low profile that it has, which I like because to me that gives me more confidence. Just when I'm looking down at the golf club and seeing a lower profile fairway wood, I feel more confident that I'm going to be able to get that ball up in the air more easily. Talk about the construction of the fairway wood and what that looks like.
Yeah, that was the low-profile design was, again, done on purpose for exactly the reasons you just described. There are a lot of 3 woods and 5 woods on the market right now that are, have very deep faces and probably are designed more to hit the ball off the tee than they are off the fairway. And, we designed the GS53 fairways with the idea that, first and foremost, they're designed to be hit off turf, whether that be the rough or the middle of the fairway. So these are steel design, not titanium, but again, a forged face with a steel body that is joined together through some laser welding and other techniques that are pretty complicated. And, again, very classic, clean and elegant design. Kind of a throwback design in a lot of ways to the olden days of fairway woods. And, they have the speed slot as does the driver. And, again, are really easy to hit. And, we think kind of a sleeper in our product line. We've had people that just rave about them. And, we've actually outsold fairway woods more so than drivers, which is great.
And you mentioned the speed slot. Talk for a moment about what that is.
Yeah, the speed slot's, kind of a tip of the hat to Mr. Hogan and some of the designs that he had when he was manufacturing persimmon woods. It's, a notch out on the toe, really originally designed to reduce weight. But it does have some aerodynamic properties as well. It creates more club head speed. And really is something that's been unique to Hogan Woods for many, many years. So it's kind of a cool look, and people who see it again or see it for the first time really think that it's something cool, but it does have some functionality as well.
And Scott, you mentioned kind of a look back to olden days, and another thing I noticed in your fairway woods is not only do they come in a 3 and 5 wood, but they also have a 4 wood option as well. And that's something I haven't seen in a long time. What made you guys decide to include 4 wood as an option?
Well, 4 wood was really, Mr. Hogan's go-to club for a long, long time. And we were kind of confused as to why people had gotten away from that, or other manufacturers have gotten away from that. We had heard a lot about, weak 3 woods and strong 5 woods. And, at the end of the day, those are basically 4 woods. And so we asked, ourselves and our engineers and designers, why don't we just make a 4 wood, that is designed first and foremost to be that, exactly a 4 wood. So, we've got a 3 wood that's 14 degrees, the 4 wood is 16 degrees, and the 5 wood is, traditional 18 degrees. And, it makes things easier. I mean, now you don't have to worry about a 3+ or a 5- or whatever the case may be. This is just designed first and foremost to be a 4 wood. So, we've had great response to it. And again, it's a little bit of a nod to the way Mr. Hogan approached the game.
And Scott, one of the things that I love about the philosophy you guys have promoted out there on your site around these new woods is it's not simply all about power. For most of us, a 300-yard drive just isn't in our bag. We don't have that shot. The same for a 275-yard 3 wood. What we need is accuracy. Talk about how the design of these woods gives us distance, but it also really gives us accuracy as well.
Yeah, the fairway woods specifically were designed with accuracy in mind first and foremost. They have a squared face, is not a closed face or hook face, which a lot of other manufacturers do for many different reasons. But our goal was to get you from point A to point B on the golf course as easily as possible. That doesn't mean that these are short fairway woods by any stretch of the imagination, but they're, as you said earlier, designed first to inspire confidence. Get the ball up in the air very easily. Have very tight bulge and roll tolerances, which will bring the ball back into play if you hit it out over the fairway or over into the rough. But they're, again, really designed first and foremost to be played from the fairway and not off the tee. They do work well off the tee, but they're designed for an intended purpose. They're not drivers, and they're not, they're not long irons. They're meant to serve a specific purpose. And we looked at the history of fairway woods and decided, hey, this is the way that the game is meant to be played. It's the way Mr. Hogan played it. And, that was our, defining mission when we set out to develop the GS53 fairway woods.
Scott, just a couple more before we let you go. And you mentioned going from point A to point B. For those folks who weren't with us the last time you joined me, talk about the new putter line and how the design of those faces are forged and CNC milled, and the different options you have available in the putter line as well.
We introduced the precision milled forged putters about probably 2 months ago now, and have had great reaction to them. As with everything we do at Ben Hogan, these are forged putters, not investment casts, so they have a very unique feel to them, much more solid, much more consistent. And we developed not a really deep product line. We don't intend or want to be the number one putter in golf, but we really developed these for real Hogan aficionados, people that wanted a full bag of Hogan equipment in their in their bags. So we have 3 blade designs, pretty traditional, pretty normal looking designs, but all are diamond black, the diamond black milled finish, and then 1 mallet as well. So they're great looking, great performing, great feeling. They're at a great price as well as always, because of our factory direct business model. And, they're fantastic products. I mean, we're really excited about it. And more importantly, our golfers are people who are Hogan folks, have really adopted them as well.
You've also got some great accessories, like some very cool Ben Hogan head covers. So for the Ben Hogan enthusiast, talk about the accessories that you guys have available online at benhogangolf.com.
Yeah, we have a very, very loyal following. People who play our products typically want to show that off in some way, shape, or form. So, we've got some great bags, carry bags. The BH1 carry bag has won a bunch of awards for its simplicity and utility. We've got a line of umbrellas and high-end, really great tour-inspired towels, some travel gear. It's not a very deep line, but again, it's for that person who is really proud of the fact that they play Ben Hogan products and wants to carry that, that feeling, to and on the golf course. So all of these are authentic, as we call them, and really meant to help the game, help them play their best golf when they're traveling to and from the golf course.
Scott, before we let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great things that you guys are coming out with, order the product and all those sorts of things, both online and then follow you guys on social media as well.
Yeah, the best thing to do, quite honestly, is to go to our website, benhogangolf.com. We spend a lot of time in keeping it up to date and are constantly adding new video and new content. So I would urge people to visit that often and as frequently as possible. And there's some cool links there to join our email database and follow us on social media as well. We're really active on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So that would be the best way to do it.
Well, Scott, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. I'm very excited, as always, about the things that you are doing. The Ben Hogan golf equipment, from your irons to the new putters, and obviously the equalizer wedges as well. All fantastic stuff, and very excited about the driver and the fairway woods as well. But I can't thank you enough for your time, and sharing the information. Look forward to hearing about all the great things you guys are doing again, I'm sure very soon.
Great. Thanks for having me, Chris. Good to talk to you again.
All right. Take care, Scott. All the best to you and your family.
You too. Goodbye.
That is Scott White. He is the CEO of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company, benhogangolf.com. Folks, the GS53 driver, first of all, looks fantastic. I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to hit that. But I'm telling you, these fairway woods look absolutely spectacular. I love the low profile that they have. It's a lot of confidence. I feel really good about the opportunity probably to get that ball consistently up in the air so we're not scooping it and hitting it bad and all that sort of stuff. So looking forward to hitting that as well. So check them both out online. Again, benhogangolf.com. All right, folks, time for me to put a bow on this edition of Next on the Tee. Want to send out my sincere thanks to Paul Ramee, Bill Bergin, Tom Patri, and Scott White for joining me tonight. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net. On there, you're going to be able to keep up with our guest schedule. Plus, we link back over to our page on Podbean, so you can stream any of our archive episodes for free, folks. And also, you can download the Podbean app, so therefore you can take us with you everywhere you go. We're also available on a number of great apps like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, and Player.fm as well. Please share your thoughts with me. Check out our page on Facebook, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro. There you can give me some feedback. Plus, if you've got a question for one of our previous or future guests, you can let me know right there. I'll be glad to get that question on the air and answered for you as well. Again, our website is nextonthetee.net. Folks, again, thank you for choosing to listen to the show tonight. We know you got a lot of golfing content out there to listen to. We really appreciate the fact that you are making Next on the Tee part of it. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA pros and top instructors and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Tuesday to hear